Hello everybody, this is Suffolk Graham here from Rand Nerds, and welcome to my slightly delayed end of series review of Series 8 of Doctor Who. As a warning I usually give in, this time I'm going to give a warning of complete spoilers. I'm not much to myself to, only glean minor things about the episode. I will reveal everything about the episodes I will talk about, and all the characters talk about. I'll reveal everything I need to about them. So if you've not watched the series and not watched the episodes and you don't want anything spoiled, turn off now. So first off, let's look at the characters. So obviously the big character to talk about is the Doctor, and the fact we have a new Doctor. I really liked him. I know some people have disliked him a little bit, but people always do. I found him really interesting. I like the fact he's been a bit of a different Doctor. Previous Doctors have always been a bit theatrical, a bit over the top. Tennant and Matt Smith were rather flamboyant, is probably the best way I could describe them. I'm not saying in a bad way, but I like the fact that they've done something a bit different. They've all been eccentric, but this Doctor's definitely his own separate way. I get the feeling he reminds me of like an absent-minded professor. He's not really clued up with the way the world works. I can't tell if that's meant to be, from a character point of view, whether that's meant to be a front he's putting out, or whether he's meant to be, he really is just a bit like that. I suspect the latter more than the former. It is interesting the way he talks to people, the way generally he reacts to situations, just feels a little bit like he's not quite with the greatest bit of common sense. I like that about him. He's just a bit darker, I feel, than some of the other Doctors. He's quite happy to tell people no and tell people off, really, situations, and sort of say, right, you're on your own. I like that about him. I hope they keep that up, and I hope that carries on through. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this Doctor in future episodes. Next on the list, obviously, is Clara. Now, I've never really liked Clara. She was alright when she had the bit part for her first episode she appeared in, Sign of the Daleks. That was okay. That was a nice little neat twist in the episode. I thought it was quite well done. But when she got introduced as a main regular companion, I never really felt like I bonded with her in a way. She has this annoying combination of both smug and cocky, the way she deals with people and the way she especially talks to the Doctor, and I felt like that in some ways that she just felt like she wasn't really, she was going around with him, but not because she actually had a mutual, almost respectful, but almost like she just thought it was a bit of a jolly. I don't really think she took the situation seriously enough. I know it sounds silly to say, but I don't think she took the situation serious for what she was actually doing. It just felt odd and wrong. She had her moments in Flatline, or when I get to episodes, we'll go into a bit more detail about each episode, but in Flatline, I thought she was fantastic. I thought she actually came out of her shell a little bit. It didn't carry on for the rest of the season. And this didn't help well with her time to her relationship with Danny Pink, which I thought was very badly handled and done. I didn't like the fact the same thing that Moffat did with her. I didn't like the fact that she kept dropping in and out of the TARDIS. The same thing Moffat did with Pond and Rory, Amelia Pond and Rory. They're sort of dropping out of TARDIS sort of every now and again. We'll just go over the trip with the Doctor. It just isn't. I know it's a very background element, and you could argue it's not really that important. It just doesn't feel it fits in with the idea of these people going on an adventure in space and sort of moving place space. It just didn't feel like it's connecting very well. So I have to say I've not been particularly impressed by that. So now she's departed, I'm not going to miss her. I think she's probably one of the least memorable companions we've had. I hope that we'll bring back something different in the future. I personally would like to see another pair of companions again. I always think it works better when you have a pair of companions that can work off each other or work with the Doctor. Some people didn't like them. I did quite like Amy and Rory. The fact that they were a pair and they could bounce ideas off each other, and with Doctor, I found that really it created a different dynamic that we haven't seen in a while with these single companion series we've had. So I hope they bring that back and hope we have a pair of them back again. Perhaps two people who aren't related, perhaps just two distant people who just get pulled together separately would be quite cool and quite different. So I hope they do that again. Then we're on to Danny Pink. I hated Danny Pink. Everything about him I didn't like. I didn't like his background that they set up, his troubled past. Thought that was awful. I thought it was awful. You know something. He's good when he first appeared and they acted like, oh, did you kill someone? War, and he seemed a little bit down about it. I thought he's gonna either kill a civilian or more like a civilian child. Do you know what? I was spot on, correct? I just didn't like that background of him. I also found him slightly creepy. In the episode The Caretaker, when Clara was mentioning going to see the doctor, and he obviously looked a bit suspicious. It wasn't suspicious in a, oh right, what are you up to? It's more of a, we're going to be having some serious discussion about this later, and maybe worse later on effect. I didn't like that. I really didn't like I didn't like his background. I didn't like the way he acted with us. I also think the actor wasn't that great. I actually had a little moment of cheer when he died in the beginning of Dark Water and he got killed. It's like, oh, great, he's dead. Of course, I knew that. Obviously, being an episode about people going to a fraudulent heaven, I thought, oh, so now we know what's going to happen. And did he come back? And did you know, somewhat normally, he was more irritating as a Cyberman when he came back than as a real person. His little stupid way he went on about, oh, it hurts. I was like, man up. You've got a body armor suit. Just man up a little bit about it. Don't sound like a small dejected child in the corner. Just deal with a bloody soldier. Get on with it, you stupid man. So glad he's well and truly gone out of the series. He can't come back. Thankfully, there's no way he can come back. So I'm glad he's gone. Brilliant. Fantastic. Oh, so one thing I did dislike about the character as well was the fact that the Doctor was dislikeful of him was rather engineered. Also, the Doctor didn't like soldiers. Now, this sort of goes against a bit of things in the past. I mean, Captain Jack, he was a soldier, and it was a violent thing, and the Doctor sort of had quite respect for him. I mean, they used to laugh and joke together. Maybe not all the time. Maybe had some moments where they were off to each other. But overall, Doctor had a respect for him. And, of course, Unit and the Brigadier. All this respect he had for other soldiers, but for some reason also in this series he didn't like soldiers, refused to have someone on board the TARDIS because they're a soldier. Once again, Captain Jack, come on, get over it. Whether it's meant to be a facet of this new Doctor, it just felt a bit like that had been put in there deliberately to create a tension between Danny Pink and the Doctor. I, for one, didn't like that at all. And of course, the final main character to speak about is Missy, or as we know, is the reincarnated version of the Master. Probably the best secondary actress of the whole series. She was very well played by the actress. I love the way she'd obviously had looked at previous portrayals of the Master and picked up some of the nuances of the way he acted, particularly John Sims' version. And I thought that worked really well. I thought it worked well that the way she talked to people, the way she acted, her little sort of way she got into people's heads, I thought was really rather clever. It's just a pity we didn't get to see more of her. It really is a pity that we didn't get to see more of her. I was surprised. I must admit, I know a lot of people did call the Missy Master revelation. I must admit, I was not expecting it. I made a point of not watching many people's theories on them because, troll fan theories, they can often be wrong. They are, after all, just theories, and I didn't want. I don't like have too much speculation. I don't tend to put off faith in speculation of fan theory, so I did tend to ignore it slightly overall. I must admit, when she mentioned she was a Time Lord, my first thought was that she was going to be the Rani. So I was quite surprised to find out that she was the Master. So it probably would have been nice if they brought back a different Time Lord rather than the Master again. So I want that's something that obviously got opened in the first series. It'd be nice to have him have another Time Lord adversary out there. I think that'd be quite cool, quite different. So maybe something to look at in the future. It's just a pity that she was rather roasted. I'm hoping we'll see more. Well, we obviously can't because she got shot, but it'd be nice to see more of her in the future if they find some way to resurrect her, which I'm sure they will. So now on to the episodes of the series. I've put these into 3 categories. My first category is the good episodes, the ones I really enjoyed. First one, and this is going to be a bit controversial, is Robert of Sherwood. Now, quite a few people I know didn't really like this episode. I find it really fun. It's a bit different. We have had a couple of more lackluster episodes, a bit more dark than others, and this is a bit different. I like the idea of him going back and finding a fictional character, what's supposed to be a fictional character, not believing it, trying to think of any way around it he could. and leaving it open whether what we saw was truly what we saw. I also found that the way that the Doctor and Robin bounced off each other, I thought worked well. Reminded me a lot of reminded me a bit of Captain Jack when he was with Chris Eccleston, their first meeting in the Empty Child and Dr. Dallas's. I thought that was really, the way they sort of interacted and talked to each other and put dross off each other, I thought worked really, really well. And I did find myself laughing. The only downside of the episode was the sheriff, played by Ben Miller, just didn't really work for me as a bad guy. I just couldn't take him seriously. My next good episode I liked was Time Heist. Again, another quite sort of different, quite fun episode. I don't think I've really seen anything quite like it before in Doctor Who, which is nice. It reminded me a little bit of Farscape if you ever watched the series. If you haven't, worth checking out. Quite a nice, unique, very cultish series. You can get on Netflix now at the moment, so definitely worth checking that out. I like the twist about the enemy. I do like it when they have these sympathetic enemies and the people who the enemies are doing things not because they want to, because they're forced into it. I do quite like that in a way. It makes them feel more actual creatures rather than just simple horror. I mean, I felt more emotion and feel like they're real creatures for, say, something like, well, the creature in this one, and say, for example, we had the beast from a few episodes back in I've got the name of the episode of the hotel. I've completely forgot the name of it. It'll come back to me at some point. Probably bounce about a bit later. I do like because it makes the monster more real. Daleks are fun, Cybermen are fun, but that being completely and totally evil just doesn't. It makes cat monsters feel very two-dimensional and not really much of a threat. So that was nice. I like that bit. I like the twist of it, and I like the when you found out the fact that the Doctor had set the whole thing up. I thought that was really neat. I did kind of see it coming. I did expect that was going to be the case, but it was nice to see it anyway. Next on my list is Mummy on the Orient Express. Again, this felt like a nice classic Doctor Who plot. Group of characters in a small closed environment, getting picked off one by one, having to figure out what's going on. The bad guy turning out not to be, again, I suppose we're getting a theme here of the bad guy not being the bad guy, but after that there was a set bad guy in the form of the computer system. I thought that was neat, and the fact that all of a sudden, although there was a plot twist in it from that, he turned the tail and said, okay, we're now not just a train, we're in a lab, and you're going to figure out how this monster's going to work. I thought it was quite a clever idea. I thought that really was a neat little twist, and the way the Doctor figured it out, and the background to it, and the usual finishing off the monster, okay, he's a such and such, and he's a soldier, and so forth, I thought was really neat. I liked that about it. Really enjoyable, felt like a proper classic Who episode to me. Similarly, Flatline, the episode following it. Another good episode, written by the same writer. In some ways a similar premise, a small group of characters having to deal with something they're not really sure how to deal with. In my opinion, Flatline is the best episode of the season. I thought the Clara finally came out of herself in it, which is nice. It they didn't carry it on for later episodes. The whole idea was I'd not seen before. I don't recall seeing it before. I'm sure some obscure program or film has done the same thing and a similar thing in the past, but I thought it was really neat, and it was really creepy. The monsters were creepy in the way that they were never really explained what they were there. Were they there for horror? Were they there for fun? Were they really misunderstood? I thought it was really neatly. I thought that was, again, different. I walked away from that feeling actually really creeped me out, that episode. So overall, a great little episode. Really enjoyed it. Now the final one I put in here, or final two I should say, which gives you a bit of a clue, they only just slipped into my good episode category, and it was a just slipped into it, and that is Dark Water and Death in Heaven. A bit of a interesting pair. As I said, they only just sort of got into my good category. As series endings have gone, they have been probably the weakest of the series that we have had in the past. I must admit, the concept of the people in the idea of these people dying but still being sort of conscious, I found very disturbing. In fact, people listening to it and the chap on the monitor going, "Don't cremate me, don't cremate me," I found probably a bit too disturbing for Doctor Who. It felt more something you'd see in Torchwood. That felt a bit wrong to me. The episode was mainly saved by Missy, to be honest. She saved the pair of episodes. And the only good about it, we finally got rid of Danny Pink completely out of the series, which was excellent. I would say, out the two, which has got the edge, Dark Water probably has, I'd say, a slight edge on Death in Heaven in terms of the sort of suspense created. Death in Heaven just felt did feel a bit jumpy. Like I say, it wasn't the greatest of endings I had, as it only just gets into my good category. It very nearly dropped the category, which is what we'll move on to next. So this category I call the category, or internet favourite phrase, the meh category. These are episodes that weren't bad, but weren't good either. They just didn't have quite the thing to push them into the good category. So they're definitely worth watching. They're definitely worth they are something you can enjoy, but they're just not brilliant episodes. The first one I'm going to put on here is Deep Breath, the original episode of the series. First episode of the series, I should say. I felt Deep Breath was going to be a good episode, but had some problems. First of all, it was too long. It felt like it had been written as a shorter episode, perhaps an hour long one, I guess, but then had been extended to make it fill the gaps in this, to make it fill the slot up. There was a lot of unneeded waffle in it, a lot of stuff that didn't really need to be in there. I felt I could have edited out quite a lot of it and still made it have sense. Some nice bits. Obviously, we had the first introduction to Missy there in the first part of the arc there, and the special effects on the monster was, I thought, downright brilliant. And again, it's fantastically creepy. The clock went, so all the people in the dining rooms were getting up simultaneously and moving together was really well done. So great, I thought, overall quite a good episode. It just didn't quite have that spark that made it brilliant. The next one I'm bringing into this category is Into the Dalek. This is another one that had a lot of potential, but it was a bit rushed. The episode just jumped around rather too much. Again, I felt they were trying to fit. They this time had the opposite problem. It felt like they were trying to fit a lot into a small episode, and you felt it when you watched it. I also saw there's two. I suppose you could say there was two real twists in it. The twist of once they repair the Dalek, it's going to turn bad. I saw that coming a mile. I think anybody who could have watched it could have seen that coming a mile off. It was so obvious, and it just wasn't anything special, sadly. And this is also the episode when we had the first bit. The Doctor first member go, when the Doctor refused to take that gal on board because she was a soldier. I had a very visible and audible, when I saw that. I didn't quite get why he wouldn't take her on board his ship with him. Why he wouldn't take her with him? Because, as I said, he took soldiers before, so what's the big deal? So, again, just didn't quite spark into that next category for me. Now, the next one actually is one that's cool. Well, it's one that's actually grown on me. When I first watched it, I thought it was pretty darn bad. But after rewatching it, has grown on me somewhat. Just not brilliantly. That's Listen. I like more psychological episodes. I really do like them, but it just felt like it wasn't that well structured, and the idea they're trying to get across just didn't work for me. I like the idea of something being sort of stuck in the Doctor's mind, the idea that something he had as a child caused by Clara inadvertently made him go around and imagine all things going on. I thought it was a neat idea. I just don't think it quite pulled off very well. Didn't help that there's a lot of Danny Pink in it. Didn't help. Amazing, he was irritating as a child as well. Just the miracle just keep coming with Danny Pink. And again, we could have done for all that Clara stuff and Danny Pink stuff in it. Otherwise, it could have been a nice, enjoyable episode. It just didn't quite cut the mustard. Now on to, well, the ugly section. These are the episodes I thought were downright terrible. You could quite easily delete these from the box set, because I'll tell you what, when I watch them again, I'll skip through these. I won't watch these again. They were all poor. And I'd have to say, out of the worst episode of the series, in my book, was the episode called The Caretaker. Terrible story. Terrible enemy. The enemy looked absolutely ridiculous. This big honking metal dome thing with these what things might be called lake, and it's going to be some sort of terrifying soldier. I just looked at it and thought, oh, what a piece of crap. Who'd thought that up? It wasn't creepy. It wasn't anyway terrifying. It just looked stupid in all ways, shapes, and form. And the worst writer was it's so full of Danny Pink and Clara. Oh my word! You know, you could have edited if you edited all those unneeded Danny Pink and Clara stuff out of it, you'd cut the episode down to about 10 minutes. It just was so poorly done, poorly scripted. I mean, it could have had some neat ideas. It just wasn't done well at all. Overall, the worst episode of the series, poorly done, piece of shit, to be honest with you. The next, Kill the Moon. Kill the Moon. Kill the Moon, to be fair, wasn't far off jumping into the next category. It just had some problems with it. I mean, I liked the bits of it. I liked the idea of the fact that humanity sort of got fed up with space, although I can't see it happening myself. I thought the moon set was very good, very realistic and brilliantly done. I like the way it was. I thought the production work on it was really neatly done. The trouble we have is Doctor Who's never been a massive fan of physics. There's been a lot of things about it that they have sort of cut away, and I think it's fair to say that Doctor Who and physics don't necessarily make good bedfellows and don't really get on that well. The trouble is that the physics, sometimes there's a point of pushing your suspension of disbelief, and then there's breaking it with an axe or sledgehammer, and this was like a nuclear missile. Well, it literally was a nuclear missile, breaking the idea about it. The stupid concept of the moon suddenly gaining mass because it's an egg. Where's that mass coming from, guys? You know, physics. Where are you getting it from? And how does blowing up into lots of small bits help? The mass is still there. You'll get rid of it, and then the creature hatches out of it, and then it lays another moon. Where did that moon mass come from? God, it didn't. It ruined it. It just didn't make any real sense. I also didn't like the fact that the moral dilemma was just, it irritated me. Shall we push the button or shouldn't we? Oh, we're going to kill this thing if we don't. And what annoyed me most about it was the fact that they said to Earth, look, Earth, okay, we're going to let you guys decide. Earth decides, blow the fucker up. Sorry to swear, but I did. Earth decides to blow it up, and they decide to completely ignore the whole planet. Once 8 billion people, well, assuming roughly that, assuming it's got so many, vote against you, and you ignore them? What gives you the bloody right, Clara, you arrogant, smug person? And that's where I get the point that she's arrogant and smug from. What gave her the right to blow that planet up? She didn't have that right. Didn't like it at all. And obviously the other major problem is they had brought this interesting enemy in it in the form of Spider that could be killed by Silit Bang. And they forgot about it. 20 minutes in the episode, they basically disappear. Their threat's gone. It's written off. So, oh, what? I mean, why? They create this really interesting dynamic, this really interesting idea that there's a threat who we've got to deal with, and they just didn't do anything about it. Oh, right, okay. It was a wasted episode, and it was a poor episode. Won't be watching it again. Now, the final one of my ugly sections, which if you've been keeping track, you'll know what it is. To be fair, almost made it into my or meh section. Just didn't quite get there, and the main reasons for it had some questionable decisions and some of the things I really don't like in episodes. That's the episode Into the Forest of the Night. So it's my least worst out of the worst episodes, if that all makes sense. I really don't like kids' characters in TV episodes. I've never even now. If we think, oh, Scrooge and all the kids like it. When I was a kid, I didn't like that sort of thing. I thought I didn't want. I had to interact. When I was a kid, I interacted with other kids. I knew how stupid they were, and how cocky they can be, and so forth. I preferred watching adults. Maybe that's me, and that's everybody's quite different. Maybe I'm sure people up there who have got kids who probably really enjoyed Into the Forest of the Night because they saw them, so they could project themselves onto it. But I don't think most kids really do like that. I think most kids like to see adults do things. They like to pretend that they like watching the adults getting on with stuff. I do honestly believe that. And the trouble is that kids in TV series are always written the same. They're very rarely written believably. They're always a case of the kids are always going to be very cocky and make sort of snarky comments that always seem to be very pointed at the time. And there'll be one kid who's usually the weakest out of the bunch, who's the one who actually is going to say everything. This sort of ugly duckling snow that people always get portraying, it doesn't really happen. And but they have to take center stage. The child's got to go and do the phone call at center stage. What a load of rubbish. Had some stupid moments in it. Being chased by wolves, then being chased by a lion. What a ridiculous, tiger, whatever it was. What a ridiculousness of it. You just put it in and just add jeopardy to the episode. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Story jumped about all over the place. The actual idea was full of plot holes, trees appearing overnight. Yes, on one half planet they did. The other half they didn't. The people just suddenly see trees appear in front of them. And the worst crime of all, the ending. Oh my giddy odd, the ending was sickening. They come home, the mother and daughter come home, and this plot is this unusual bush fun, and it magically disappears, revealing the missing sister. Where the hell has she been? Did the plant things, creatures, whatever they were, kidnap her? Just in order to kidnap this child to tell her what was going on? Is that what they're implying? These creatures just, we'll try and kidnap things. What a stupid ending to a really terrible episode. Hated it. Which at the time I actually didn't mind too much, but I've grown to hate it. So, this has grown on me. Into the Fossil Lights has not grown on me. Final things to look at. Well, the final main thing is the myth arc itself. The Heaven and the Missy downloading these peoples into some Time Lord device and then putting their bodies back into Cybermen. Overall, I thought the idea was neat, but I felt was really poorly developed. It was not. I felt the portrayal of it wasn't that consistent. We didn't see it in enough episodes. It almost felt like at points they'd forgotten about it. I suspect the bits they filmed were there, that they filmed other people who had died going to heaven. I suspect those bits were filmed there, but they were cut out for the sake of time. I suspect. Can't be sure. But if you're doing a myth arc, you need to keep dropping things in a more consistent basis in order to keep people being interested in it. Say what you want to say about Russell T Davies. Say what you want to say about him, but he knew how to run a myth arc in some ways. The Bad Wolf one, for example, no one made mention of really a Bad Wolf till episode 10 of that series, 9 or 10. But it was in every episode. There's a little hint there. It was there, and it was in dialogue, or it was hidden away, to reinforce the idea that was there. I thought that's a bare way to do it in a way. And Moffat can do decent myth arcs. We saw this when the episode of the series where the Doctor gets killed and then has to be revived, and you introduce the silence. That was very well done. That was a way of myth arc. They had an introductory episode and then they followed it through. And yes, but the difference was that obviously they split bits of it off. They missed bits of it. You didn't have them every single episode, but they had myth arc stories. And it would have been nice if they had done something similar with this. I felt that it wasn't very well developed, and I also felt that the reward of finding out about the myth arc wasn't really that interesting. I kind of guessed what it was going to be like, and I kind of guessed something like that was going on. It'd be more interesting if something a bit more mysterious had been interesting. I don't know, perhaps say that there was actually like a planet or another dimension there where people did go when they died. That would have, in my mind, been a bit more interesting idea of the Doctor finding the afterlife. I think would have been perhaps more interesting. Probably got more complaints, but I think that would have been a really interesting twist on it. But maybe it's a piece of technology, time was invented. Okay then. I mean, yeah. it hasn't been a brilliant myth arc, unfortunately. I said the only thing that saved it was Missy, which is a shame because she should have been better, we should have more portrayal of her, and perhaps more hints dropped. So my final thoughts on the series, I think as a season, it's been a pretty weak one. No means poor. I mean, it's not been terrible to the point that I wouldn't watch Doctor Who again, but just hasn't been that little bit special. Reminds me a little bit of Matt Smith's first season, where it all jumped a little bit about and had some odd things going on, and it got a bit too complicated. Reminds me a bit of his first season. This season, though, I thought was a little bit neatly done. Matt Smith's first season was very complicated in some ways. Myth arc was way too much. But I just think Moffat needs to look more at, and just general the writing needs to be planned a bit better. I think the episodes jump about as a rule. They jump out too much. They try and cram too much in. I think they need to take Occam's razor to it and sort of simplify them and get to the core inner parts of it that makes them interesting. And perhaps be not afraid to say, okay, we're going to do a double episode if we need to. But overall, not a terrible series by any means. Just not going to be, to me, one of the best series of the new version of Doctor Who that we've had in a long time. So that's my final thoughts. It's been quite a long review. If you've stayed all the way through, well, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed my thoughts and can either agree or disagree on them. That's fine. So thank you very much for watching. I've been Suffolk Grammar for our nerds. Please subscribe to our channel. We do live streams, we do let's plays, we do reviews, all sorts of things on here. I am intending to make a more regular review of the classic episodes because I quite enjoyed doing these videos. So I think I'm going to go back and do perhaps reviews of perhaps some of the more classic stories, and eventually work my way through the classic seasons, as it were, or series as it were, from 1 to 8 as we are now. I'm also going to look through some more of the older stories available and give my thoughts on them as well. But hopefully you enjoyed this. I said I'll try and get some of those up a bit more in the future at some point, hopefully for the new year. So thank you very much for watching. Until next time, thank you. Oh, final thing, I'll look forward to seeing you. I'll do my review on Christmas Day when we have the Christmas specials played. Look forward to seeing you then. Thank you. Goodbye.